Well, let's get right to it. I want to bring up Jim Clausen, representing Lakeland South Rotary, to present the nominations for the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission.
Good afternoon. This officer has worked for the state of Florida since 2009. He is a CPR and first aid instructor, where he dedicates much of his time to training and assisting his fellow peers. He is a field training officer for all of Polk County, where he helps develop new officers. In addition, he often volunteers at the Circle B Bar Preserve, where he commonly works in the greenhouse area, growing and maintaining native vegetation, which is later transplanted to help restore the water quality in Lake Hancock and the Peace River. Furthermore, this officer has been quite successful in reducing trespassing, in addition to making felony arrests. He is currently working within the commission and externally through the legislature, urging the adoption and improvement of quality control measures for freshwater fish that is used for human consumption. This in an effort to better protect the public. For the 2016 Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission Distinguished Service Award, I am proud to introduce Officer Tracy Bontrager. Next, this officer has been employed as a law enforcement officer with the state of Florida since just 2014. Already, he has achieved a multitude of accomplishments in his short 2 years of service. This officer has made several arrests for trespass, poaching of deer, and felony arrests for the poaching of alligators. During the past year, this officer led his area in cases involving the hunting of migratory birds over bait. Additionally, he was very successful in reducing trespassing. Moreover, he is also a breath test operator and has made several boating under the influence arrests in Polk County, improving the safety of our waterways. Finally, he was instrumental in the success of 2 search and rescues in Polk County, where his efforts led to the location and safe return of lost boaters. For the 2016 Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission Officer of the Year, I am proud to introduce Officer Reese Alvis.
Good afternoon, everyone. On Friday, July 17th of 2015, while off duty, this EMT was having lunch with her mother at Panera Bread on South Florida. She was seated so that she had a perfect view of the outside parking area, while her mother was seated facing the wall. This EMT therefore witnessed a person collapsing to the ground in the parking lot. She responded quickly, assessing the person and determining that she had no pulse and was not breathing. She immediately initiated CPR and coached the person's wife to assist her. A Winter Haven police officer arrived and delivered a shock with his automatic external defibrillator and assisted with this EMT. Meanwhile, a battalion chief arrived and used their advanced equipment and delivered a second shock. Though critical, the person did regain his pulse and was attempting to breathe on his own. But the EMT did continue to assist with care, prepared the critical medications to administer, and this responding fire rescue crews then continued with advanced life support treatments after arriving on the scene. This EMT assisted the rescue crews by preparing the man for rapid transport. Because of this, EMT's willingness to get involved, initiate CPR, and assist the first responders while off duty, this man went directly into surgery. This person was able to walk out of the hospital just a few days later. Beyond a doubt, this EMT's skills and vast knowledge played a major role in the positive outcome for this individual. This EMT's integrity and teamwork while off duty certainly exudes outstanding service to the citizens and visitors whom we serve here in Polk County. For the 2016 Polk County Fire Rescue Distinguished Award, I am proud to introduce EMT Venetia Geiger. Unfortunately, though, a schedule conflict could not be prevented, and Ms. Geiger is out of state. Next up, this officer is one of Polk County's Fire Rescue's SWAT medics, who, by the way, are issued some very specific advanced medical equipment. And while traveling in North Florida with his grandmother, this officer witnessed a car that was in front of him that was rolling in and out of the dust several times on the side of the road. This officer then noticed the crash and advised his grandmother that he would have to stop to check for injuries. Upon coming onto and evaluating the scene of the crash, this officer discovered that it was a horrific aftermath which occurred about 35 miles from the closest town. The violent, multiple end-over-end rolling of the vehicle resulted in this small car literally being torn in half. Upon evaluating the scene of the crash, this officer discovered 3 pediatric fatalities and 2 severely injured adults who were the mother and the father of the victims. Under normal conditions in one own home area with familiar response expectations, the protocols, the communications, and certainly having a partner with you, one may have confidence in their ability to mitigate such a horrible incident like this. However, being alone, with no idea of the estimated arrival time of the other professionals, the locations of the hospitals, or the availability of air support, the situation was even more daunting. This officer was not only able to triage the victims, but used his leadership skills as well in commandeering assistance from bystanders. With the arrival of the scene of another off-duty medic from Georgia, he was able to start advanced care for the victims. He called 911 in the area, and they recognized his position, patched him through to the proper responding fire officer, and upon arrival, the local medical responders who assumed care. They were even able to dispatch medical helicopter transport for the remaining victims to the nearest trauma center. The story made even the headline news as far away as Atlanta. For 2016 Polk County Fire Rescue Officer Paramedic of the Year, I'm proud to introduce as Lieutenant and Paramedic Evan Towns.
On December 13th, 2015, at 1 a.m., this firefighter responded to a structure fire on Lakeland Fire Engine 21 with the report of a person being trapped in the apartment. Upon arrival, it was confirmed that there was a person on the floor in the apartment and unable to exit the structure on her own. After making an entry through the front door, this firefighter encountered heavy smoke, heat, and had no visibility. He was able to locate the victim in the living area near the hallway of the residence, and he was able to reassure her and kept her calm. The victim was pulled from the residence and delivered to emergency medical crews for treatment. The victim was able to be treated on scene and released. This firefighter then continued with his firefighting actions and was able to extinguish the fire remaining in the structure. His decisive and quick actions brought a quick resolution, resulting in the saving of the woman's life. For the 2016 Lakeland Fire Department Distinguished Service Award, I am proud to introduce Firefighter Paramedic Alvin Catholic. On February 15th, 2015, this firefighter was off duty and traveling home after completing his shift. Upon noticing there was a commotion several vehicles in front of him, this firefighter made his way to the accident scene and found that bystanders had pulled a 4-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy from one of the involved vehicles. This vehicle was quickly filling with smoke from an engine compartment fire, and the driver of the vehicle was entrapped and unresponsive. With no way to put out the quickly spreading fire and unable to open the doors due to the severity of the crash, he made access into the back seat of the vehicle where he tried to free the entangled victim, yet was unsuccessful. The flames overcame the firewall and entered into the interior of the vehicle, where the heat and smoke forced this firefighter to retreat. Unable to continue helping the unresponsive driver, this firefighter applied his training and experience in the field and turned his attention to the young children involved. He noticed that the 4-year-old girl was unresponsive but was breathing and had a pulse, and that the 6-year-old had suffered serious injuries but was alert. This firefighter immediately called 911, identified himself, and gave an accurate on-scene report requesting the appropriate units to be dispatched, including the fire suppression unit, emergency medical services, police, and that 2 helicopters be put on standby for pediatric trauma alerts. He continued patient care after hanging up with the emergency operators by accessing the children's vitals and listening to lung sounds with his personal stethoscope until further support could arrive. He directed several bystanders to assist him with the children until fire and EMS crews arrived. Upon their arrival, he again identified himself and assisted EMS with patient care and packaging the children for transport by helicopter to Arnold Palmer Hospital for Children for Trauma Care in Orlando. For the 2016 Lakeland Fire Department Officer of the Year, I am proud to introduce firefighter paramedic Cody Ritenour.
On June 19, 2015, this officer was dispatched to the area of Hampton Hills in reference to a domestic disturbance that evolved into a kidnapping investigation. While investigating the call, this officer noticed the suspect vehicle abruptly stop and turn around several driveways away from the incident scene. His suspicions became heightened, and he began to follow the vehicle. During this time, he could see a male driver making shoving motions with his right arm as if he were shoving something down into the passenger's seat. A pursuit was authorized by his lieutenant due to the nature of the call and the female victim believed to be in the vehicle. The pursuit covered approximately 4 miles before the vehicle came to a stop at a red light on Mall Hill Road and Griffin Road. As it came to a stop, the lieutenant arrived on the scene and maneuvered his vehicle to block the suspect vehicle. He observed the male suspect with a large knife and advised such on the radio. The officer pointed his firearm at the suspect and gave loud verbal commands to drop the knife, while it was still unknown if the female victim was in the car. This officer saw the suspect making stabbing motions, and he and the lieutenant approached. Then they saw the female victim in the passenger seat while the suspect was still in possession of the knife. Fearing the victim was about to be stabbed, the lieutenant and the officer were able to open the passenger door, and the lieutenant removed her from the vehicle before any harm was done to her. Then they focused their attention to the suspect and began a dialogue and issuing verbal commands. However, the suspect started stabbing himself. In an effort to save the life of the suspect, the officer holstered his firearm and deployed his taser on the subject. The subject was then subsequently removed from the vehicle, secured, and first aid was provided until the Lakeland Fire Rescue arrived on the scene. For the 2016 Lakeland Police Department Distinguished Service Award, I am proud to introduce Lieutenant Brent Addison and Officer Preston Chatmon. On January 26, 2015, the Lakeland Police Department responded to 4335 Williamstown Boulevard in reference to a disturbance reported by management. Patrol officers made contact with the victim, who stated that she had been raped at gunpoint by her ex-boyfriend, David Cuvis. The victim and Cuvis met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and dated for 1 year. The victim and Cuvis broke up at the end of December, and he left town. On January 25th, 2015, Cuvis returned to Lakeland, and on January 26th, he met her at a hotel room. Cuvis stated that he had a gift for her, and then he produced a handgun and a knife. The victim was sexually battered at gunpoint by Cuvis, and afterwards, he fled back to his home in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Special Victims Unit detective obtained an arrest warrant for Cuvis for armed kidnapping, armed sexual battery, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Cuvis was arrested in Philadelphia on January 28, 2015, and was later allowed to bond out of jail for $35,000. On Thursday, February 26, 2015, Cuvis violated his bond and unexpectedly visited the victim's grandmother at the estates of Carpenter's home in an attempt to locate the victim's whereabouts. Cuvis began texting the victim, who immediately notified the Lakeland Police Department. Detectives were able to carry on a conversation via text messaging using the victim's phone and convinced Cuvis that he was talking to the victim. Cuvis at one point sent a text message saying, in effect, "I'll make all the pain go away." At approximately 5:30 p.m., detectives were able to get Cuvis to meet at the Lake Gibson Park, thinking he was meeting the victim. When Cuvis arrived, Detective Nick Paulus, Mike Lewis, and others attempted to take him into custody. Cuvis exited his vehicle and fled on foot, running in front of the Starbucks and the Five Guys Burgers at 4660 North Solcombe Loop Road. Detectives continually ordered Cuvis to stop and then observed him reaching into his waistband to produce a firearm. Detectives Lewis and Paulus then fired at Cuvis, striking him numerous times and ending the threat. After Cuvis was pronounced deceased at the scene, detectives noticed what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound to his leg from pulling the handgun out of his waist. The detectives involved in this event exhibited heroism, outstanding performance, and exceptional ability to manage a rapidly evolving, stressful, life-threatening encounter. Their dedication and attention to detail was exceptional under trying circumstances. Excuse me. Detectives Lewis and Paulus demonstrated a remarkable level of competence, courage, bravery, and a devotion to duty in this instance. By exposing themselves to imminent danger, these detectives took focused and overwhelming action to protect the life of other officers and the general public. Because of these members' initiative and exemplary work ethic, this dangerous event was brought to successful conclusion. Lastly, these detectives demonstrated their professionalism, dedication to their community, and to each other. Their actions displayed a commitment to excellence that we would all do well to emulate. For the 2016 Lakeland Police Department Officer of the Year, I am proud to introduce Detectives Mike Lewis and Nicholas Paulus.
This detective has been employed with the Polk County Sheriff's Office for approximately 6 years. He quickly moved into investigations after 2 years on patrol, being assigned to the Crime Suppression Unit and Tactical Drug Unit before his most recent transfer to the Polk County High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Area in 2013. While working long hours, raising a family, this detective has completed 4 years college degree in criminal justice. This detective is responsible for more drug seizures than any other member, having mastered the art of cultivating resources and putting them to good use while always maintaining the utmost integrity and professionalism. Month after month through 2015, this detective has been instrumental in the dismantling of one drug trafficking organization after another regarding the distribution of methamphetamines and prescription drug medications. These shipments have come as far away as California and Texas. The California shipment, having been smuggled to Orlando by the subjects on a commercial flight before meeting this detective and subsequently being arrested. A review of the statistics provided in the nomination of this detective's award reveal, conservatively, over 20 suspects arrested, over 53 pounds of methamphetamine seized, prescription drugs, firearms, 4 sticks of dynamite, 1 pipe bomb, over $200,000 in cash, and a 1979 Pontiac Trans Am in mint condition. In the case of the seizure of the dynamite and the pipe bomb, there were also 2 small children residing in the residence at the time of the arrest. Had this detective not followed with the State Fire Marshal's Office, the Department of ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the potential for a tragic explosion could have occurred. This detective's outstanding abilities and keen investigative skills have contributed to the success of the High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Task Force and the Narcotics Investigation Section of the Polk County Sheriff's Office. This detective is a tremendous asset to the Polk County Sheriff's Office and the citizens of Polk County. For the 2016 Polk County Sheriff's Office Distinguished Service Award, I am proud to introduce Detective Justin Starr. Justin Starr. Where's the Trans Am? This detective has utilized free time volunteering and coaching at the Frostproof Middle and Senior High School for girls softball, volleyball, and basketball teams. Officially, this detective is assigned to the investigation of child exploitation as it relates to digital media. However, due to skill sets, is often tasked with much, much more. With a 60% increase in these investigations since 2013, this detective has also been assigned to double homicides, armed robberies, home invasions to assist in the retrieval of digital evidence leading to the arrest of suspects. This, in addition to daily assignments. A notable case included a young male who extorted at least 8 young girls from the Pacific to the Atlantic coast for nude images, videos of them. This detective helped to bring justice to these girls, of whom were begging for this man to stop making them do this in the videos he requested. This detective was able to place this monster in the Polk County Jail, where he's facing 477 criminal charges. In February of 2015, this detective was part of a search warrant team for a subject who was trading in child pornography on the internet. Being the first detective through the door, immediately heard a gunshot from a back bedroom. Holding their composure, the team safely cleared the residence of any threats, and at once in the back room, this detective located the suspect with an apparent fatal gunshot wound to the chest. Despite having emergency medical responders on scene within seconds, the suspect was pronounced dead at the scene. In November of 2015, this detective received a message from a school resource deputy at the Frostproof Middle School regarding a 13-year-old 8th grader who was being extorted for nude pictures by an individual. This detective, through investigative means, determined it to be from Ackworth, Georgia. This detective traveled to Georgia, worked with the counterparts with the Bartow County, Georgia Sheriff's Office, and ultimately served a warrant at the suspect's house. After hours of forensic examination and interviews, the suspect confessed to investigators that he had, in fact, extorted several females under the age of 18 since June 2015. Again, as a result of this detective's actions, numerous victims can rest assured they would no longer be extorted for nude photographs, and countless other victims have never have to worry about being victims of this suspect. In December 2015, this detective assisted in prostitution operation investigations, resulting in the arrest of 95 people, ultimately locating 3 potential victims of human trafficking. Long and tedious hours, coupled with compassion and law enforcement experience, proved invaluable in dealing with these victims while furthering the investigation in these human trafficking rings. For the 2016 Polk County Sheriff's Officer of the Year, I'm proud to introduce Detective Christy Smith. The Polk County Sheriff's Office currently holds 10 professional accreditations. They are the only agency out of 17,985. That's right, 17,985 law enforcement agencies to hold 3 accreditations with excellence designation by the Commission of Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agency. Congratulations, Polk County Sheriff's Office.
The College Student Allowance Program is a specified dollar amount, in this case $500, against which an eligible student may make a claim for reimbursement for any eligible college education expense within the 1-year claim period. An eligible student will be those qualified college-age children of our public safety personnel who are actively working for a participating agency in the current year and who make an application through the President's Roundtable. At this time, I would like to call up Timothy Brigman and Sahir Kidwai.
This concludes the program. I want to commend all the recipients. I want to thank you all, and hopefully you all return for the 49th Annual President's Roundtable Public Safety Awards. Thank you.